Hey everyone, this is Austin Schur here with We Write About Music, and today I'm here with Just Tommy. He's released his newest single, which is actually a cover of Pharrell's Happy, and I can't wait to hear all about it. Tommy, thank you so much for coming on today. How are you doing?
I'm great. Thanks for having me, Austin. Yeah, I just said it. I'm great. It's a
That's
it-
awesome.
yeah, man. It's a great day.
Where are you at right now?
I am in like physically located geographically. I'm in
Yes.
Gilbert, Arizona. Yeah, Gilbert, Arizona, which is
Okay.
for those who may not be aware of what or where Gilbert is. It is a small. I don't say small. I shouldn't say small. It's a city just outside of Phoenix, about depending on how fast you drive, like 20-25 minutes.
Sure. Are you melting?
Yeah, actually,
Yeah.
it's pretty nasty right now. We just got into our monsoon season, which is actually
Oh,
kind of a pretty
jeez.
big deal. Yeah. So not only do we have the heat, and what most people know about Arizona, they always say, oh, it's dry heat. Um, June and like into July with monsoons, it's not a dry heat. It's very humid.
So indoors at all times
Yep.
and lots of hydration and
Yeah,
all the good stuff.
indoor AC. Yeah, this morning when I woke up and oh, this is disgusting. It was like 6 o'clock this morning,
Mhm.
and it was 92 degrees and raining. So
Lovely. What a great way to start the day.
yeah, man. But
Well, I want to talk about the music here. I'm
yeah,
really excited to be talking to you about this single. I say this with no sarcasm and no exaggeration, I promise you, but I truly think that this is the better version. Um, and I'm not even joking. Of the amount of times that I've heard, the original in the past year or three, there's I don't know, it's gotten grating, but the times that I've listened to yours, as it's been prepped for release, there's something super original and even more fun about it. So first off, thank you for doing it.
thank you. I was going on the mindset of I really hope Pharrell likes it.
Well, hey, I'm sure he's heard every cover in the book, but this is the best one that I've heard. So
You're too
that's
kind.
awesome.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you.
So tell me all about it. How or why did you decide to do this one? And yeah, what's going on?
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting story, man. So like Um, I'll try to do this without going all over the place. So one of the things, just
It's
real
all right.
quick, I have ADHD, so it is
Sure.
like hard for me to sometimes stay on task, but or on track. But
Yeah.
I'll try. So um, here's the deal. I was in Michigan at my producer's studio, Pearl Sound Studios in Canton, Michigan. So there's a plug. Chuck Alkazian,
Yeah.
phenomenal
Plug them
producer,
all. Plug them all.
dude, right? So wonderful human being, good friend of mine, but more importantly, I was out there finishing the album, and we had talked about doing a couple of covers, and the idea came up of, okay, well, if we're going to do covers, or if I'm going to do a cover, like what should it be? Because
Sure.
you know when you do covers, or when people decide to do covers, for me at least, I should say, like I want to put a lot of thought into it, because I don't want to just cover a song that just came out, because I don't want to detract from the momentum of that artist who did
Mhm.
it. What I like to do is I don't want to say bring back in a negative way, but bring to the forefront, um, maybe some things that people haven't heard in a while, or maybe haven't heard at all. There's a whole new generation out there that are just discovering music, right? Every day,
Oh, every day. Yeah.
right? I say generation, but there's people out there
It's true
discovering
though.
music
No,
every
it's
day.
true. And they're discovering music in the weirdest ways. Whether it be like a TikTok video or, whatever shows up in the new like animated film. It's all new and it's all out there.
Yeah, man. So, the idea is that like I wanted to do a cover that was going to have some emotional impact, because I don't know that we necessarily need to go into all of, 2020, but because of
Yeah.
2020,
I get the
you know,
gist. Of course.
I think people can visualize that. You know, I wanted to make sure that people could smile. I wanted to bring some happiness to the world, and we had some conversations internally about, I'm still um, making a name for myself. I'm still producing the product, right? I'm still working on putting
Sure.
product out there to get my brand more well known. And so would I want to do an original? Yeah, of course I want to do an
Yeah.
original, but you know, the song was playing, actually the video was up on my laptop while I was talking, while we were having this conversation, and it's got like dude, like 500 million views. It's got more than that,
Yeah,
right?
I'm
So
sure of it.
it's like probably closer to like a billion. That, and I think there's only one other song that's even close, which is September from Earth, Wind and Fire, and that's got like,
That makes sense.
right,
Yeah.
boom. Yeah. So the question was like, well, what does the world need more of?
Yeah.
And in my opinion, is happiness, smiling. You know,
I
any day.
agree.
It doesn't matter about just 2020. I mean, yes, 2020 mattered, but
Yeah.
the context there is, you know, smiling and happiness and having a good attitude. Those things are very contagious. And I started trying something about midway through the pandemic, which was um, smiling more. Now, obviously, had masks on, but not all
Sure.
the time, right? So,
The
I
eye
mean,
smiles. It's all
yeah,
about the
you
eye
can tell.
smiles. Mhm.
You can see a smile, right, in the eyes.
Yes.
And one of the things that I'll tell you is it's infectious. So I started
Yes.
doing it, and you know, then my wife started doing it, and she was telling me, you know, people at work do it, people at the store do it back, and it's just, you know, spreading a little bit of kindness and a little bit of like positive energy, putting it out there in the world.
Yeah.
That's, in my opinion, what the world could use more of. It's a,
So
yeah,
badly.
yeah. So we landed on it. I landed on it, and you know, it just happened, man. Like I didn't plan on doing this cover
Mhm.
before I went into the studio.
You know what? There are so many people that don't have any amount of spontaneity in their life. So you get in there and you do it and you figure it out, and you're legitimately going to put smiles on people's faces when they hear it. So
That's
if
the
that was
goal.
the goal,
Yeah.
you've done it.
Well, thank you. Yeah.
One thing I do want to know is, not taking away from this single itself, but going to moving to the future and working on originals. What is in the tank? What are you working on? And what can you say about what's on the way?
Well, I don't know what I'm not allowed to say. My team would probably get mad. But you know what, Austin, you're the first person that I've been able to do an interview with, so I'm just going to give you all the details.
Give me all the exclusives.
Yeah. It's like something, you know, just tell me exclusive, whatever. But it's really cool. It's exciting. So
Sure.
during the okay, so my last show, I'm going to transition from live when I was playing live
Yeah.
into what happened at my last show, you know, or after my last show when the shutdown happened. So March
Mhm.
2020 was my last show, and it was really cool. It was at this place in Scottsdale, Arizona called the Rock Bar, and they had this really cool stage, brand new lighting setup, great audio system.
Sure.
And then, you know, a week later, everything got shut down. Live music completely stopped.
It's too
And
bad.
right, and as we know, it stopped for everyone, and for a long period of time. And so it really became about strategy and sort of thinking to myself, where, well, what should I be doing right now? Because we're
Yeah.
inside. And I love being inside because I have horrible allergies, which is weird that I live in Arizona.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but I was raised here, right? So my whole family's here.
Oh, so you're used to it. You know what's up.
Well, I don't know if anybody ever gets used to it. They'll say that, but
It's not a surprise. You can feel it go. How about
fair,
that?
fair. So uh yeah, so then I thought to myself, well, what should I do? So I was talking with my team, and unanimously it was create, finish the album. I had
Yeah.
been starting work on the album in, I guess, during 2020. And so
Mhm.
basically all of 2020 I was writing and I was
Okay.
recording, and it was over, actually I was in my studio here, right, in Gilbert, which we're
Nice.
in right now, and then via, you know, email and Dropbox to Chuck in Michigan at his studio.
There you go.
And so we did
Power
the,
of the world.
yeah, yep. It was really good that we have, you know, reliable internet here, because otherwise I don't think that would.
No way.
Yeah. Hang on, the video's breaking up. Is it clear on your
Oh,
end?
yep, I can hear you. You good?
Is that?
Can you hear me?
I
Okay.
can. I think we had a little bit of a,
Sorry about that. As you're talking about reliable internet,
yeah,
that's even better.
normally reliable,
Yes.
mostly reliable internet. Yeah.
Mostly.
So that being said, I've got an entire album which Happy is going to be a part of.
Sure.
I've got, man, there's all new music, and it's almost an entirely new sound, which I'm really, really excited about.
Okay.
So this album establishes the Just Tommy sound.
Got
And
it.
yeah, and I'm really, really excited. The album is called Awkward, which is,
Love it.
it's my
I
own
was
thing.
going to ask, I was going to comment on it. I figured maybe you'd throw it in there, but okay, is like the punctuation and grammar going to be in there too, or is
Yeah. So I'm
okay?
a big nerd, dude. So I have a background in tech and
Okay,
technology. I was a web developer and coder and programmer for a long time.
nice.
And I worked in marketing for a long time.
Okay,
And this is actually XML.
I love that.
Yeah. So it's some coding language. It's a container, and it's for the awkward, right? So it's really me. I am an awkward person growing
It's
up my entire
beautiful.
life.
It's
Yeah.
the most fitting album name I can think of. Now
Right.
knowing you this much.
Right. Well, thank
Um,
you. I appreciate it.
what I do want to know is I want you to sort of take me through a day of writing and recording and what that looks
Yeah.
like for you specifically. I hear stories of, oh, I start with lyrics that I thought of in the shower, or I was
Yeah.
noodling around on a guitar. And what's your process? What's going on here?
Yeah, I am super excited that you asked that, Austin. I love sharing my process with people because every time I share it, I learn something new about either something that I can use or from someone else that maybe I didn't know, like about myself, or I
Sure,
don't know.
sure.
I love sharing it because if people are really interested in it, like my goal is to actually, my mission, my Just Tommy mission is to motivate and inspire through action and art, of course,
Love
right? So
that.
I place a lot of importance on education. I will get to the point, I promise.
Sure. No, 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 please.
So yeah, so my magical process, there's a couple things that Chuck doesn't like when I talk about because he and I have developed them together,
Okay.
but I think, I think it's okay. So the process is this. I, to this point, have never started with lyrics first. For me, it is always music first.
Got
And
it.
my songs, every Just Tommy original starts out basically as a country song on an acoustic guitar.
Okay.
And then it ends up in this like pop, rock, punk, 80s synth wave.
Well,
Like,
why do you think the starts out like that though?
because I overcomplicate things. So
Okay. Oh no, I appreciate the honesty.
yeah,
Of
well,
course.
it's something that is really that I've realized about myself. I'm newish at songwriting with lyrics as Just Tommy. I mean, this entire thing, I'm playing all the instruments. I'm programming
Sure.
drums. I'm playing bass. I'm,
Yeah.
playing, right. So the point is, like, this is kind of I'm still learning like how everything kind of works together, or have been learning over these last few years, and I'm still taking
Mhm.
classes, right? So I
It's like
started,
learning a new language.
yeah, yeah, and
100%.
and just like with any profession or anything that we do, we've got to keep our skills up. We've got to stay with the times, and if we don't, if you don't stay current, you sort of end up like
It's true.
Blockbuster. So,
Totally.
right,
Totally. I
yeah,
mean, especially in this last year where so many people have built home studios.
yeah,
I don't know what software you're using or whatever gear you're using. If it's anything like, like Ableton or Pro Tools or whatever it is learning a new language and it's legitimately difficult. There's only so many YouTube videos you can watch. And
yeah,
like the brain span with everything else you're doing in life,
yeah.
like good for you for learning because it's not easy.
It's not, and we as adult learners, we typically retain only about 30% of what we learn at a given time,
I believe that.
right? So yeah, so for the creative process, I am a guitar player. Like, I don't want to say it's not a trade, but like that's my main instrument. So
Sure.
I started playing trumpet when I was in like first grade, and I played all the way through high school. So I'm,
Cool.
trained on the trumpet class, like classically.
Yeah.
But guitar I'm self-taught. And so I play through, well, now I know I know music theory a lot better than I used to, but it was by ear, right? By ear and by
Mhm.
feel. And so when I say it starts out as a country song on the acoustic, it's because I tend to overthink things, and being that I have all this electronic software in front of me, I use Logic Pro as my
Sure.
DAW. And I am a big fan of synth plugins, like big fan of like the
Oh
Arturia
yeah.
stuff. I've got all the Arturia stuff. I pay for everything, all of my
Awesome.
plugins. None of them are free. I want to make sure that that's known. Like, I don't have any endorsements or sponsorships. I'm
Yeah.
literally a regular dude, and I work still for a living. so that I
Awesome.
can do this, right? So back to the process. Yeah, it starts on the guitar. I tend to I add a bunch of unnecessary layers. So like when I'll send a demo to Chuck, it'll have like 12 different synths in it.
Like, what do I do with this? This is a lot
Yeah,
going on.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so then at that point, it's just this like wall of sound. And so I'm having to learn how to, over this last, year and a half, how to simplify the process to
Right.
start kind of scale it back to its most, I don't know, intimate parts, right? Its
Sure.
most basic form or function. And for me is the guitar. For some people, it's the piano or keyboard. It may be, whatever a primary instrument would be for somebody, but for me, it's a guitar. And then from there, I will basically build the entire instrumental.
Oh wow. Okay.
Mhm. I actually have a YouTube video on my YouTube page where I explain how I produced one of my songs
That's
off the last
cool.
EP called "Walk Away," and I go through like bit by bit, and I talk about sounds. But basically, sound selection is super important to me.
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of using samples. I create most of my sounds
Sure.
myself. So my production process is a little bit, for right now, it's a little bit like longer than I like it to be. So that's the next thing that I'm learning, and I'm in the process of, um, tightening things up. I'm doing a lot of YouTube videos. I'm actually taking a class that I paid for on workflow and just kind of the whole songwriting process from start to finish as it relates to like a solo artist.
Have you found those to be beneficial?
Uh, Um, yeah, actually, I have, and I'll tell you why. Because you get out of it what you put into it. And I'll tell you a story.
I
So
like
when I
that.
first, right? So when I first started doing this adventure as a solo artist, I had never written lyrics to a song. I'd only ever written guitar parts, and I wanted to learn the software. So I started doing EDM remixes of like popular songs. I did a
Sure. That's a
EDM.
good way to learn. It's a good way to like screw around and yeah, totally.
Yeah. Do you use a DAW? Are you like into producing at all?
No, I wish I was. I
Yeah.
mean, I've been playing guitar since I was probably 9 or 10, but
Awesome.
more like recreationally than like laying down tracks. It's
Fair.
why I'm on this side of the screen asking you the questions.
Oh my
100%.
gosh. Um, yeah, so I started out doing electronic music and I didn't know. Okay, so I had some training in like live sound reinforcement
Sure.
and like running a board, right? So some mixing, some studio work, but really not like a lot. So I had to learn that, right? So I went back to school and I took a class in sound engineering so that I could learn it, right? So that I can understand what, like generic signal flow is. And that way I can sit down at any analog board and basically get sound from, my
Right.
laptop to the monitors. But most things are digital now. I mean, everything that I did is in the box, as they say,
Yeah.
with respect to the live instruments that I recorded, but I recorded everything digitally in my studio. But okay, so back to the process.
It's all
God,
the process. It's
dude,
all the
it's all
process.
like, okay, so the
Because it
EDM,
never ends and there's no like it's not a straight circle. There's
nope.
so many detours and there's no wrong answers either. So
Thank you. I I really appreciate that. Yeah, so the EDM thing was really, really cool. And you're right, dude. It was an awesome way to
mhm.
learn something new. I love learning. I'm a sponge. I don't think I'll ever stop learning, but that's also part of the process because every song that I write, typically, I mean, you've probably heard this before from other musicians, like a lot of new songs come from like when you get new gear.
Oh yeah. Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah,
Right.
100%.
So I'll give you an example. So I've got two guitars behind me that I did not stage like this. These they just sit here. So
No,
I built both of
hey,
these.
you're in the studio.
Well, that's true. That's where they live. So
Yeah.
one on the left is my first guitar that I built. I guess it'd
You
be your
built
right.
it.
It's a 7-string Telecaster body.
It's amazing.
It doesn't
Okay.
exist anywhere else. I mean,
I
it's completely.
figured it's one of a kind.
It is completely one of a kind. It's all. It's a wonderful guitar. It plays beautifully. It's a 7-string. So it's super awesome, right? So when
Yeah,
I first started, I was like, I'm like like a new metal guitar player. Like I love bands
for
like,
real.
dude, like Deftones, Rage Against the Machine.
I was gonna ask because I mean, not to get too sidetracked, but I was going to ask like
We'll get back on track.
who you listen to, who has inspired your sound, but it kind of sounds like you do everything. So I guess who you listen to barely even matters to the music that you make, or it
Well,
seems like it.
Well, I think that's where I see things a little differently. I
Mhm.
love listening to lots of different types of music
Sure.
because this is something that I'm learning in a class that I'm taking right now is to challenge myself as an artist. I have to get outside of my comfort zone.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you've heard that um, many artists, I mean, that we know and love over the years, people will say, oh, this album was this, but then their music started to sound like this, or maybe their music didn't change, or
Oh yeah.
right.
You either
So
it's like you damned if you do, damned if you don't. You
yeah,
either change or you adapt, and then your existing fans get pissed
yeah,
that you didn't make the same album twice. Yeah. No, it's tough.
yeah, I mean, that kind of goes back to the conversation of, you got to change with the times. and
Right.
and I love music, and I love, having fans, and I can't wait to get more fans, um and create new fans by doing things that are unique and different and maybe haven't been
Totally.
done before, and something that can get put out there that somebody can connect with on an emotional level. And that's, for
That's it.
me, why I love listening to different kinds of music. But I think you nailed it. Where we get into trouble sometimes is getting stuck in only, the blinders,
Yeah.
right? So
Has to be country music, has to be mainstream pop. Doesn't have to be anything.
thank you.
It's what it well, first off, you should be making the music that you want to be listening to. You should always come first in the process.
Yeah,
But then also, yeah, you know what? The more it seems like a job at the end of the day, I feel like the more that you don't enjoy what you're doing. But you specifically, the fact that you're taking all these classes, you're learning the processes,
yeah,
you're getting the gear, you're making your own guitars, like
yeah.
you're in it, you're focused, you're
Yeah.
doing it. You're on the right path.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's a big part of the strategy for that I put together for Just Tommy
Hmm.
is actually just the fact that it's all about strategy.
Yeah,
Um it's a business. It's a functioning business, and
totally.
I'm just lucky and fortunate enough, I should say, to be able to pursue this. You know what I mean? Like, I enjoy doing it. I would imagine you enjoy doing what you're doing,
Totally.
right? And if you didn't, you probably wouldn't do it, or you wouldn't do it
No, I
as well.
wouldn't spend nearly the amount of time that comes. I mean, this is the fun part of the job,
Right.
but yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
it's tough.
and I love talking to people too. So
Yeah.
that's another thing. But part of the process is, I mean, all of this, we're actually talking about the process. So
Right.
actually, let's go back to, we'll get back on track. This should be really easy. The other guitar behind me, actually, yeah. So the guitar behind me, I just built, and that is what I wrote all of the songs on the new album on,
Oh,
with the
okay.
exception of like two.
Nice.
So that stem creativity. Also, learning to listening to different music will stem creativity. Whether,
Sure.
if I need to listen for something new, I might listen to some jazz if I want to do something weird.
Oh,
Um,
that'll do it.
yeah, because I'm a big fan of adding weird stuff into my music, and like not really like in a blatant way. So there's always some kind of an Easter egg.
Sure. I get that. No, you gotta keep them guessing. I get it.
Well, yeah, and it's so funny. Like, I've seen a lot of these deconstruction videos on YouTube, and I love them. I love seeing how music gets put together because it helps me um, look at how other people do it, and then just sort of like add to my like repertoire of things that you can do when you produce, right?
Sure.
So if we pick back up on the process part, once I get my basic like chord progression and structure down
Hmm.
on the guitar, I translate it into the DAW, into Logic.
Okay.
And then I think I mentioned I love synths previously.
Sure.
So I'll throw about 100 synths on it, and then a bunch of reverb and a bunch of delays, and then I'll just like dial it back. But the reality is, I'll translate that into a piano, just a basic, piano sort of riff or reference track, and then everything electronically gets built around that.
Okay.
When I lay down my final guitars, like the electric guitars, that's the thing that I do either just before vocals or just after.
Interesting. And it's
Yeah.
been like that for all the songs.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Before Chuck and I started working together, so I released an EP in 2019,
Hmm.
and all of those songs I did 100% here.
Awesome.
100%. Yeah, and that one, yeah, those were that was a learning lesson for sure. That was a very big
Sure of
learning.
it.
Yeah.
It's funny. Usually these interviews are a lot more structured in their questions because it's sometimes like pulling teeth. However, I just gotta say that I so much more enjoy like loose flowing conversations like this, and you've been a pleasure to talk to so far. There are a couple loose ends that I want to tie up before we get finished here.
Yeah.
You have mentioned the studio that you're in and the amount of software and basically, like online instruments.
Yeah.
What is the plan going forward for when you eventually hit the road or even start playing local shows? Do you have a band in mind? Have you even considered it?
That's a really good question. So I have been performing in a unique way
Okay.
since I started this journey. My first show was in April of 2019, and I have a live rig and an entire a, ty- a synchronized light show
That's awesome.
that I bring to like every show, dude. Yeah,
Yeah, you got to wow the crowd.
yeah, but it's
Yeah.
like it's legit. It's all synced up. So live, I have a laptop and I've got a 32 track mixer, a digital mixer,
Awesome.
and a Shure wireless microphone system, Shure wireless pack system for my
Mhm.
guitar, um, and it's like a unique one of a kind experience. Now, what I'll tell you is that is a lot of work for me because it's literally just Tommy and my wife Jen,
Sure.
but yeah, so I am going to be scaling it down. So when I start playing, at least again live, it's going to be I'll be using the venue's lighting, and I'll probably just have my laptop and my guitar and maybe an amp, and then my backing tracks. So I produce backing
Okay.
tracks, or rather Chuck um, produces them for me.
Sure.
And now he takes my demos and he mixes them for me so that I can play with them live. And so I'll have backing tracks live.
Okay. That makes sense. And
One
it'll
day
work.
one day a band would be super cool.
Yeah. I mean, listen, you got to take it step by step. You got to do what works for you.
That's right.
Whatever it is, the light show is going to be great. I know that for a fact.
Yeah, it's pretty
And I feel
fun.
like the live setup is just going to be great. Well, is anything planned at this point? Do you have any
Yeah,
plans to get out there?
yeah. Actually, I was just talking with my manager today. So we are planning on playing live starting at the end of July here in Mesa, Arizona.
Very soon.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. It'll be either, well, that's the plan. If it doesn't work out end of
Sure.
July, because it's still hot here. So if the weather doesn't, work out,
That's for
we'll have
sure.
to. Yeah, it might be August, but yeah, very very soon I will be playing out live again, and I will be playing my new material.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah,
Good to hear.
yeah.
Okay, so one thing that I like to sort of wrap it up with is a question. So, for the person that is going to discover you from this, and for
Okay.
the person that is going to dive into your music for the first time, what is a welcoming message that you would like to say to them?
Welcome.
Yeah.
Yeah. So people who are here, is this two questions or is this one question for both groups?
This
Or
is
one answer for both
like
groups?
just how about a welcome message to all new Just Tommy fans?
Yeah, you want me to speak to
Yeah.
my new fan? Huh?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Um, oh my gosh, I don't know. Okay, so I'm so glad that you found me. I'm so glad that you found my music. I did this for you. I did this for me, but in a large part, I did this for you. Everything in my music has a personal meaning to me, but it's meant to inspire and motivate from within as well. And, I expect that you'll be able to find some kind of happiness, some kind of joy, and get something out of the music for yourself. And that's the goal. So thank you for listening.
I think that's beautiful, and I think that's every reason to start listening to you. Tommy, I
Thanks, man.
cannot thank you enough for coming on. I'm really happy that we could make this work today. At this point, Happy is out, so everyone give that a listen. But also, it sounds like way more is on the way. So I would say stay tuned, follow him on all social media. We'll have all the links listed. And yeah, I just got to thank you again for a seriously fantastic conversation. I can't wait to learn about more about you in the coming months and years.
Austin, thank you so much, man. This was an honor. Thank you for having me on We Write
You're
About
very
Music.
welcome. You are
Yeah.
super welcome. Have a great rest of your day and stay cool out there.
I'll do my best. Take care,
Awesome.
brother.
See you
Bye.
later. Bye
Yep.
bye.